In this video, we're going to be looking at 9 weird phrasal verbs. So these type of phrasal verbs are phrasal verbs that exist. They're kind of like advanced, but at the same time, they are kind of weird. I'm going to be giving you the meaning, examples, and a question for you to answer in the comments, okay? So let's get into the first one. The first one is sticking up for, or stick up for. So stick up, you can imagine a stick is something that is firm and is normally vertical, right? So if you stick up for someone, it means that you ultimately defend the person, right? So sticking up means that you defend or are able to either like attack someone that can do harm. So an example of this can be Sarah is always sticking up for her little brother when he gets in trouble, right? So in this case, Sarah sticks up, defends her little brother. You can stick up for your values. You can stick up for other people. You can stick up for the poor. You can stick up for justice, for example. So sticking up has this connotation of like you're very like a lawyer. You will defend that cause or those people or that person, right? So the question here for you is, who do you usually stick up for in your family or among your friends, right? So let me know in the comments. The second one we're gonna get into is face off. So this one is face, like a face, but with the preposition off. And a face off is basically any type of competition. So you could say like, in a car race, like car number 1 face off or faced off against car number 2, right? This means that there was like an intense competition between the two. Maybe they are rivals, right? So face off is like a confrontation. Let me give you an example. The two teams will face off in the championship game next week, right? And the question for you is, when was the last time you had to face off against a tough opponent, right? So typically this is like a rivalry, right? Like think Chivas America in Mexico. Okay, the third one is rip off. Rip off has to do with economic, financial, monetary situations, right? So a rip off can be used as a verb or a noun. So you can say that's a rip off. It's too much money. It's too expensive, right? So it's when something like if someone rips you off, it means that someone steals from you, right? Like in a negotiation, right? It's a rip off. It doesn't benefit you economically or financially. An example, I felt ripped off when I paid $50 for a meal that was worth $20, right? So if you go to a restaurant, you say, oh, okay, I'm gonna eat this food, it's delicious, and then they're like, yeah, it's 1,000 pesos, and you're like, what? That's a rip-off. Like, it's too much money. You're paying too much money for something that is not actual, that is not actually valued that much, right? Or that the value is not that much. So the question for you, have you ever felt ripped off when buying something? What happened? Let me know in the comments. So, and it is kind of like an emotion, right? It's not like, you can say it is objective, but it's also subjective, right? Like you say, that was a ripoff. Like I felt like it was a ripoff. It was a bad deal for me, right? All right, let's go to the next one. Number 4, cut out. So cut out means many different things. Like you can cut out a piece of paper, or cut out like the drawings on a piece of paper, right? In case you're drawing something. But in this case, it means that you don't have the capacity, the ability, the experience, or the expertise to do something, right? So if you start a job and people say after a couple months, like, you're not cut out for this, just leave and find another profession, find another career, find another job. This is not for you. You're not cut out for this, right? For example, Jane realized she wasn't cut out for the job after struggling with the task for a few months, right? This normally is a bad thing, but it can also be a good thing. Like, let's say you're trying to be a criminal And after a time trying to be a criminal, after some time trying to be a criminal, you're not good at it. So people will say, you're not cut out for this. Like, just leave and find something else to do, right? You're not cut out to do the job, right? So the question, how do you know if someone is cut out for a specific job? How do you know? Okay, let's go with number 5. Call off. Call off is, I think, relatively easy. Call off means to cancel something, right? Let me give you an example. They had to call off the party because of the bad weather, right? You can also call off an event. You can call off a match, right? So a question is, have you ever had to call off an event, and why, right? Like, let's say someone's gonna get married, and then they can't find the bride, right? Where's the bride? We need to call off the wedding. We need to cancel it, right? Okay, number 6, add up. Add up is very interesting. It basically means, like in Spanish, no cuadra. It doesn't make sense, right? It's like when someone tells you something, oh, I was late because of the traffic, and you're like, but there's no traffic, right? It doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense. Add up is like, if you think of it as accumulating, it doesn't accumulate. It doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't add up. For example, his story didn't add up, so we knew he was lying, right? It didn't make sense. There were some things in it that were like, what? Well, if this happened, why didn't this happen? Or why did this happen if this doesn't cause this, right? Like, it kind of has to do with cause and effect. Question for you: what do you do when someone's explanation doesn't add up, right? Like, I was late because I was working on the project at work. And then the person can say, well, I called your office and they said you weren't there. So it doesn't add up, right? All right, that could be like an infidelity type of ordeal, right? Okay, number 7, run into. Run into is also kind of interesting. So this is like when you're at the supermarket, you're in line, and all of a sudden you see someone from your past, right? Like a friend or a colleague from work or a classmate from school, and you're like, hey, like, how have you been? I haven't seen you in years, what have you been doing? So you run into this person. It means that you see someone without expecting to see them there, right? For example, I ran into an old friend at the grocery store yesterday, right? It's like, oh, Pedro from middle school, from high school, from wherever, right? Like, how are you, right? Normally, these kind of people aren't really like close friends. They're just like people that that were just kind of there, right? So, question for you: when was the last time you ran into someone unexpectedly? Let me know in the comments. All right, let's go to number 8. Number 8 is chew over. Chew means to basically break down your food. When you take a bite of something, right? Or you eat a hamburger and you chew, right? You break it down. Chew over. Chew over means that you need to think about it, right? Like, let me chew over that proposal, or let me chew over the idea, the decision, right? Like, let me think about it. This could also be related to, like in Spanish, let me consult it with a pillow. Let me sleep on it, right? Let me think about it. Give me time. For example, I need some time to chew over your proposal before making a decision, right? So you need time to consider the pros, the cons, talk to, your family, your friends, consider the decision, right? Take time to consider the decision. So, question for you: how long do you usually need to chew over important decisions? How much time do you need before deciding something, right? Okay, and the last one isn't really a phrasal verb. It's more of an idiomatic expression. So this is just kind of like a +1. But I thought it was interesting. It's under the impression. Under the impression is like in Spanish when people say, yo pensé, like I thought that this was going to happen, but I was incorrect. I was wrong. I was under the impression, right? And an example could be, I was under the impression that the meeting was at 10, not at 9, right? So this means that you were wrong about something because of a misinformation, miscommunication situation or something, right? You were under the impression, you thought that was what was correct, but it's not, right? So a question for you is, have you ever been under the impression of something that turned out to be wrong? Let me know in the comments, all right? And there you go, there you have it. These are some weird phrasal verbs. Let me know what you think about the video. And that's all I got for this one, so I'll see you in the next one, okay? Have a good day. Bye.
You know, yeah.